have to write R code. Okay. You have to write an R code that compute internal rate of return. Okay. I assume everyone knows what is internal rate of return. 내부 수익률. In order to get internal rate of return, you have to do optimization, right? Because you have to find the discount rate that matches investment and present value of future cash flow, right? Therefore, you have to find the numerical, which means you have to do minimization between the square of the difference between investment and present value of future cash flow. And then question is how to write an optimization function in R. I can explain to you now. So let me imagine a very simple function where I can, okay, let me write down example here. So optimization example. Suppose you have a function like my function. It is your any function, and then it looks like, in order for coding, let me say this is Korean, okay? It is a function, and it has two arguments, x and a, and then this is v y equals x minus a square, and then this is return y. Okay, this is a very simple function. So if I run this one, then looks like this. So if I put my fung and then 2, 0, what should be the answer? Oh, yeah, 4, correct. And the minimum value of this my fung, okay? The minimum value of this function occurs at the point A, right? So our question is how we can find the minimum value, okay? Minimum point of this function. Well, we can do it with a simple optimization. Let's say, let me copy and paste. Okay. I think this is easy one. So I run, let's save the solution of this as a source, and I run optim, and then my initial value is, let's say, 0.5, and then I want to get this one, my funcs, and then A, let me put A as a 100, no, too large. Let me say small number, like 1.5. Then minimum occurs at 1.5, and gradient null. You can find this one later. And method, this is easiest, L, B, P, G, S, B. Okay. And then lower bound, I think this is unimportant. Control is what? So R optim. Where is the manual for R optim? Okay. How to use optim? But this is the same one. Okay, we have this one, so you can check this one, optim, and then I can provide you link about this one. Okay, and then here, this is optimization, and then the method you will use is price parameter. It is initial value. So starting from this initial value, E find optimization, and then F and U write down function, and gradient is gradient. I think if you ever learned mathematical economics, I think you may know what is gradient. But in this optimization problem, in this homework, you may not need gradient information for gradient. So simply you can write down null over here. And then lower bound and upper bound. Lower bound and upper bound, let's say this is inf. Okay. It is usually not necessary, but for your exercise, let me write down this one like this. So it can be either ranges from infinity to minus infinity, and then control. Method is, is one, and lower upper bound. Control is logical. Okay. And then control. Where is the control? Okay. Where is the control? Here, control FN scale. So FN scale. Okay. If FN scale is negative, then it does maximization. And if it is positive, it does minimization. And in our problem, we want minimization. Therefore, page by the it is financial case research. Let me copy and paste this one. Move here. So, okay. Sorry, So, in control, if we put FN scale positive, it does minimization. And then if you want to put Hessian matrix, which is useful when it's optimization, well, you can put it, but in our homework, you don't have to provide Hessian matrix, so it is false. Okay, so let me run this program. Okay, so if I type source, then answer is 0.5. Okay, so value is 0. It counts function create 2 times converges 0. Message converges norm of the project gradient. So it works fine. So this is solution. So source par. Okay, actually this is where minimum value occurs. And then if you type source dollar and then put value, this is the minimum value of the function occurs. Okay, so if we type this one, so right, source parameter 0.5. Remember, okay, in our function, okay, I put a is 1.5, right? Why? When I'm doing minimization, I put a is 1.5. So minimum of this function occurs when x is 1.5, right? And this is source dollar parameter. This gives me the answer. So this function becomes minimum when x is 1.5, which is natural because a is 1.5, right? And the minimum value is 0, right? Because if a is 1.5, and if I put minimum value, well, then it becomes what? 0. So if you check my func and then source parameter, which is our answer for minimized value, and then if I put a was 1.5, then it's 0, right? Let me change the function slightly, and I put this one. Now, in this case, well, I have to do maximization, so let me change this one negative number, and then I do maximization now. Okay, let me stick to minimize. I don't want to change this one. So let's add 100 over here, and a multiplied by 10. If I change this one, If I change my function like this one, what would be your expected value of a source dollar parameter value? What would be answer for this one? If I change the function this way, what is the answer for this one? Yes, 15, right? Because now a multiplied 10 and I assign a 1.5. Therefore, it should be 15. And then what is source dollar value? What? Yes, exactly. Let's check it. So I think you are finally getting the idea, okay? Right, 15 and 100. So this is enough for your homework, isn't it? Any question? Yes?
Can you tell us what the method L minus B is?
Oh, yes, there are, that's a good question. When we do optimization, there are many ways of doing optimization. And this is the easiest to use, although it's not my favorite. My favorite is actually SAN, okay? My favorite actually this one. Let me, and this one is, yeah, not exact, so it gives me the answer. Yeah, it gives me the answer by simulation. So it depends on method. So SA and then it called the simulate method of simulated annealing to get the optimal value. In your case, right, L, F, P, F, G, S, P is, I forgot, but this is quasi-Newton method, kind of quasi-Newton method. And then this L, P, F, G, S, P is enhanced quasi-Newton method. It is a method L, P, F, G, S is the Broad et al., which is allowed to be box constraint and blah, blah, blah. So it is improvement of the quasi-Newton method. Okay, so it is a way of getting the optimization. Actually, in my previous class, I think I gave students to write down optimization, write their own optimization function using Newton method. But in this class, I'll just let you use the R supplied optimization routine. Any other question? Yes. So in the course web page, I just, yeah, it is instant. So in the syllabus, our syllabus page, you can access this one. Okay, let me, yeah, here. Yeah. Then let me use a more fun one. Now it is a vector. Plus, now A is vector 2. And then A, and something like this. And then A is 1.5. And then in this case, my initial value is C, 0.5, 0.5. Okay. Actually, you can do the vector. So in this case, let me use B. In this case, B. And then I can assign give value to P is like 2. And then we can actually run the function. In this case, minimization, minimum value of this function is when it's a vector, when x1 equals 15 and b equals x2 equals 2, then it becomes a minimum value, right? Now it is like a 3-dimensional function with 3D function. So let me run this program. By the way, in your homework, by the way, we don't need a vector minimization. But anyway, I want to show you, right? So minimum value happens when x1 is 15, x2 is 2, which is exact same 2, and minimum value is 100, right? So it can do minimize in 2D plane. So this is very powerful. But in your homework, basically, x is just a scalar. So yeah, maybe previous example was more appropriate for your homework. But I think this is enough. So what you can do is you write down some function which is the net value of the present value. and then you want to make that net value equal to 0. You want to find the value when this is equal to 0, right? And then you can change the lower and upper limit. So suppose, so in this case A is 15, but let's say A is 15. Let's say upper limit is just 10, and the lower limit is 3. Well, in this case, right, we know the minimum value occurs when x1 is 15, x2 is 2, right? But problem is that those values are outside of this boundary, right? Then the minimum value occurs around this boundary. So let's calculate it. Right? So minimum value occurs at x1 is 10, 13, and minimum value 116. Now because it is constraint optimization, right? I artificially gave minimum value 3 of 110, so minimum value should occur as 3 and 10, right? Yes.
Can you like split out, like separately define the boundary for x1 and x2?
That's possible, but in this, that's a bit tricky. It is a box constraint. So if we want to impose minimization x1 and x2 separately, then you have to be a bit smart, and you have to change this function itself. In that case, you want to change the function itself so that the function takes the value between some range, right? That is possible. Okay, that is a good question. So let me minus 10, and then 100. In this case, you should find an answer. This, so 15.2, this control, this lower limit and upper limit is important, possibly important, because when you calculate internal rate of return, the solution is not unique in general, right? Because if it is a two-period model, it is a second order equation, so there is 2 answers. If it is 3 periods, then there is a 3 answers in general. But as you know, internal rate, not all solutions are intuitive. There is only one intuitive solution usually in IRR, right? So you have to put boundary around your solution, the intuitive value. Otherwise, it will give you like some crazy internal rate of return, which does not make sense at all. So this low bound and upper bound is important for your homework. So, I mean, now you have idea, right? Any question? Do you think you can do the homework?
When we calculate IRR,
Uh-huh.
maybe we need some cash flow.
Yes, so cash flow is your input variable. And the investment is your also input variable. They are your input variable. And the input variable, in this, so input, you can specify input variable like this, and they can be, this A and B thing in optimizer, they can become a vector. So it is fine. Okay, so, yeah. Any other?
When we're doing the homework, can we assume whatever cash flow, net present value?
Yeah, so it should be general. Cash flow should be general. If I put cash flow and initial investment, enter, then it should give me the answer. And then when you compute the internal rate of return, okay, there is 2 ways. You can write the usual discount factor as 1 over 1 plus R, 2 or 3, something like that. That is one way. More professional way is, as you know, using exponential function. Actually, using exponential function, the optimization converges more smoothly. That's numerically more stable. So if we want to use just usual discount factor, that is fine. But if you, it is also fine to use exponential function for discount factor. In textbook, they don't use exponential function for internal rate of return. But this homework, I actually recommend you to use exponential function because it is safer. It is more stable. This is very important homework. you have to master this optimization function in order to do later homework. Okay. From now on, I'll give you after midterm exam. I'll give you some homework such that you have to use the optimization function. For example, you have to use the optimization function in order to calculate risk-neutral probability that we learned last week. In one period model, you can calculate risk-neutral probability with matrix algebra. But if it becomes multi-period model, it is very hard to use matrix algebra. Actually, using this numerical method is much easier. So you have to know this one right now. For more important homework that is forthcoming. Any other question? And then you will estimate Hohenly model and then various interest rate model using the optimizer. Okay, no question. No question? 여기 질문 있나? 이재용 학생 질문 있나? No. Yeah, second homework is same. Homework is due May 1st. Right, is it too long? You can do it faster. Okay, this is second homework. Now let me explain more important homework, which is term paper. So you have to write down term paper in the end, but for this midterm exam, you have to develop homework as much as possible. Collect all the assignment I gave you for this first half of the semester. Collect everything. Make one document and hand in. And let me give you an explanation. Okay, homework number 1, same due. Write the draft term paper. Please integrate all your work and assignment you have submitted. You should keep in mind the term paper format described the first page of this syllabus. Format is very important. Please submit your draft term paper to this email address, which is my TA's email address. Then what I mean by format, okay? Format is more important than content. When I grade your homework, midterm exam and final term paper, format is approximately 80% important. Content is like just 20% important. So format is more important. And what I mean by format, let me go to the first page. This one, we have explained over here. Use this storyline and format. Term paper format, introduction. Use the link in the file, use the paper in the filing as a template. Yeah, the sample paper. Yeah, so this is like a template. Template, title, abstract, and blah blah blah. Table 1, page number over here. So there is even, I gave even template. And then for the detailed information about paper style, this is information about paper style. Okay, if you open this paper style, well, this is a first level head, subhead, second level, third level head, and then this is title, your name, affiliation, your email address, blah blah blah. Okay, so and then the paper should be what? The paper should be 12 point and Times New Roman. Paper size is a letter, right? And then when you have a table or data in the main body, you just put this press insert the table to about here or something like that. And the table and figures all at the end of the paper. In the middle of the writing, you just put this one, something like this. So read this one carefully. And then let me close others. It is now unnecessary. Yeah. And then no, it is not team. It is not teamwork. So you have to do alone. And then grade is a function of interest topic. Let me skip. Minimize. This is important. Minimize the use of bullet. Everything should be in essay. No bullet like things on. Okay. You don't minimize. Remove. Okay. Eliminate. Everything should be in sentence and paragraph. No bullet things. Okay. please 이런 식으로 쓰지 말라는 거지. 이런 식으로. 이게 불리시잖아. 점 찍고 글 쓰고 점 찍고 글 쓰고. So don't write things like this way. Write in this way. Essay and paragraph. Okay, any question? And then for your reference, when you reference other paper, again, please remind that it should be APA format. Okay, APA format looks like this. When you make reference about other paper. So this is in the reference list at the end of the paper, you have to list the paper in this way, in this format. Okay, let me explain the now format in detail. Again, as I explained, when you write a paper, it is either phenomenon-driven or theory-driven. Okay, first, inductive method, which is phenomenon-driven. When you write phenomenon-driven, your paper should be looks like this. Your paper should follow this suggested structure and answer the question. Do not write the question and answer them bullet by bullet. You should construct sentences that incorporate the answer in natural manner. This structure is based on Eisenhardt. Okay? First, there is the title, and there is the abstract, there is a keyword, and then introduction. And the introduction, the very first paragraph of your paper is composed of 5 or 6 sentences. And then the very first paragraph should be looked like this. In the very first paragraph of your paper, first sentence is actually optional. It is an example. Second sentence, you have to explain why your research question is important. Just one line, okay? Just one sentence. Third sentence of first paragraph is you have to say you have to discuss the existing literature on the topic by consensus. And then the fourth sentence, it is the example of existing literature. And the fifth sentence, you have to discuss the limitation of existing literature. And sixth sentence is your research question. You have to state. So you have to state your research question. So for example, suppose your research question is how credit risk affects the stock market, then it should be look like this. First sentence. Because it is example, on 14 September 2008, the share price of XXX dropped significantly due to an unanticipated credit event. First sentence. Second sentence, credit risk is very important in stock pricing. Third sentence is the existing literature says credit risk is very important and blah, 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 blah. Fourth sentence is that, for example, like A and B 2006 discussed this credit risk in detail like this. And fifth sentence is that, however, existing literature does not investigate the impact of credit risk on stock market. Final sentence is, therefore, this sentence investigates how credit risk affects stock market. Done. So this is your first paragraph. First paragraph is 6 sentences, or 5 sentences. 6 or 5 sentences. Any question about first paragraph of your top paper? Yes, on the introduction, the very first part, very beginning of your paper. Okay? And then remaining part of introduction is explanation of this line in detail. Okay? Explain briefly the concept of paper. In your paper, you have some concept in your paper, like credit risk. And then you say, well, this is your research question or subject, and third, you have to explain why is your research question important, around 150 words. Is there any research similar to yours? Write down in 200 words. What are the limitations of similar research? Write at least 2 limitations. Okay? There, in the existing literature, you can find the existing literature related with your research question, and you write research, and then you do the research because you think existing literature is insufficient. They have limits. So you find at least 2 weaknesses of existing literature. And then finally, what is the additional contribution of your paper to the previous research? Write around 100 words. So that is the introduction. Done. And then by the way, again, don't write down the question, answer. No, this is not what I want. You have to answer everything as a paragraph and essay. Not like answer question. No, it should be an essay, right? like a real paper. So introduction would be very important because I know that because it is a midterm exam and I know you are just collecting the data, therefore you can do much data analysis. However, I'm sure at least you can write perfect introduction at this stage of your term paper. The introduction should be perfect, although you haven't done your data analysis yet. Right? Yeah. Literature, existing literature is the papers somebody already written, academic paper, existing academic research. Like 10 papers you collected for your. And then second, after introduction, you write down literature review. And then third, you have to explain, third section is case and data selection. Why are your cases or data relevant to your research question? More than 200 words. Why are your cases data important to those in academic and practice? Okay. Basically, you have to explain why you analyze that data or case. And you have to explain why that case or data is important to other people. And next, of course, is data collection. This is very important. You should be very detailed in this data collection section because this is important because in academia, when someone writes academic paper, other people should be able to replicate it. Unless you are very detailed in data collection, how you collected the data and how you did it, other people cannot replicate your paper. So you have to be detailed enough so that I can replicate your paper. This section should be very detailed. What data did you collect? Where did you obtain the data? How did you collect the data? And then it can be quantitative or qualitative data. Quantitative data is standard database or experimental survey. Qualitative data is like an interview, archival analysis, media search, something like that. Any question? Okay, use collect data. And data analysis. Remember, this is inductive research. It's phenomenon driven. So from the cases or data, you want to find some general pattern. That's your goal. How to do that? Well, I'll let you know how to do that. Data analysis. Write down history, background, and other information about case data in the appendix. Okay. And second, build at least 2 central construct or concepts from your data. In your data or case, there should be at least 2 important concepts. Credit risk, stock price. We have 2 concepts. And then next, you have to generate property like thermo X, thermo Y. In order to do that, in your case, you have 2 constructs, and there should be a variation in X and variation in Y. Right? Credit risk rises, stock price is down, something like this. Again, in the data analysis, you have to find the pattern. In order to find the pattern, you have to construct 2 concepts or constructs. You can either come up with or you can use the existing concept or concept, and then focusing on the 2 concepts in the case study and find how variation in one thing generates variation in the other. Change in one thing generates change on the other. Okay? Then you can say thermo X, thermo Y. Variation in X causes variation in Y. Analyze how you vary collectively, variation in X, variation in Y, and this will be used formally, suggest your profile at the next subsection. Next section, it is basically generalization of the finding. You have to provide logic from data to proposition. Okay, from data you analyze and you find thermo X and thermo Y, and you have to be clear in logically explaining how from data you generate the pattern of that X causes Y. Thermo X, thermo Y. You should be logical. If you use statistics or mathematical model, this part would be easy, but if you do everything verbally, you should be very careful and logical. And then derive proposition from the data analysis, which is actually what you did already in the previous section. And then, of course, the proposition again should be like thermo X, thermo Y. The taller a man is, the popular he is. Suppose it is our research question. Our research question is like, if a man is high, maybe our research question is like, is a taller man more popular than short man? Something like this. Right? If it is your research question, you have to collect data about height of the man and popularity of the man, right? So we have two concepts or two central concept or construct. They are height, popularity. Then you collect data about height and popularity. Of course, you have to define what do you mean by height and what do you mean by popularity. And then you generate variation in height. Okay, this guy is short, this guy is tall, this guy is popular, this guy is unpopular. Well, I reject the hypothesis. The shorter man is more popular, so I reject the hypothesis. So that is possible. But then, important part is there should be a logic, okay? Therefore, a logic from, so you find from the data that maybe short man is more popular than taller man, or maybe you find the pattern that tall man is more popular than, tall man is very popular. Then you have to come up with some logic. How that proposition come from? Possibly, well, you can use some evolutionary perspective. In the ancient times, tall man has advantage in hunting and fighting, and that memory is that is in our gene, and therefore girls like a man, taller man, something like this. It is a bullshit, but anyway, it is logic, right? Anyway, you have to come up with this kind of story to support, to link between data and your proposition, okay? Something like this. And then you have to discuss how are your proposition relevant to your research question. Well, if my research question is taller man more popular than shorter man, if that is research question, and if I find this one, then maybe I don't have to explain this one. But sometimes you have to explain why your proposition answer your research question. And then you have to find the similar proposition theory in the existing literature and discuss it. Okay? Maybe somebody already did this research. Okay? Then you should write a paper. So somebody must have done similar research. If it shouldn't be exactly the same. Okay? If it is exactly the same, you should stop your research because we know the answer. Anyway, if there is related findings, you have to discuss it. And then compare your proposition with those in the literature. Okay? So it's hypothesis generation. And next part is also important. Once you generate the proposition now, you have to generalize it. Suppose you find that the taller a man is no more popular he is, then you have to generalize this finding such that this is a general finding, does not specific to my data. Okay? Even if you collect the data in like Jeju Island or China, you should be able to find a similar finding, something like that. So you have to generalize it. How to generalize your finding? Then you have to relate your finding to the existing literature. This way, how does existing literature help you to generalize your proposition? What paper have similar or different proposition to yours? What paper derive similar or different conclusion to yours? What are your additional contribution of your research paper in detail? Which paper can highlight your contribution? Next, you have to conclude. The conclusion is that first summarize the key takeaways. State what you have learned. So first one is takeaway. Second one is implication. Third one is limitation of your research. Well, you are writing a paper for business. It's a business class. So in the business class, there should be managerial policy implication. And next one is no research is perfect. So you have to admit, you have to briefly mention what is the weakness or limitation of your research done. And then there is a reference APA format. In appendix, you have to describe your case in technical detail. In this case, technical detail. There is maybe too technical to contain the main body. And in this case, you can include it in the appendix. Second, provide, in some academic journals, they want you to provide your biography. And I don't want you to write down biography. That is too much. So just write down your resume. Copy and paste your resume. 이력서. Something like that, okay? So this is the inductive method of writing, starting from phenomenon. Any question? Now second one, deductive. It is a theory-driven research, okay? Theory-driven. Again, same title, abstract, keyword, And introduction is exactly same to the previous. It doesn't matter whether it is theory driven or phenomenon driven. You should start with the first 5 sentences and then explain briefly the concept of your paper. What is your research question or subject? Why is your research question important? Is there any research similar to yours? What is the additional contribution of your paper to the previous research? Same. And second, you have to write literature review. What paper with similar research question to yours? What paper derives similar result or model to yours? What paper proposes different result or model to yours? What are your additional contribution in detail? Which paper can highlight your contribution? Done. Now it is third part. From here, now it is different. It is theory driven. Now you have to write down theory of your paper. What is your theory about the research question? Find the similar theories in the literature and discuss. Compare your theory with those in the literature. Okay? So you have, suppose you have evolutionary theory, where people have their preference. People form their preference given our ancient evolutionary way. So because evolutionary thing maybe calls like a tall man, something like this. Yeah. So from that stupid theory, you can generate things. So anyway, then you have to write down what do you mean by evolutionary theory? Why ancient lifestyle is important to determine the present, to determine the preference of current age, something like this. Anyway, from that evolutionary theory, and then in the hypothesis section, you have to generate hypothesis. Okay, from evolutionary way and the way, you can generate hypothesis, and you derive hypothesis from theory, and again, hypothesis should be like the more X, the more Y. The taller man is, the more popular he is. Okay, so theory, it is not from data. Now it starts from theory. Theory and hypothesis. And then you have a hypothesis, you have to do empirical test. Empirical test for this hypothesis. Operationalize the hypothesis for testing. You have defined what we mean by tall and what do we mean by popular. Okay? And then you have to do data source and gathering. What data did you collect? Why are your data relevant and important to your research question? How did you collect the data, and qualitative data, quantitative data? And you do the analysis. In the analysis, well, if it is the taller man, the more popular he is, you need 2 men, short man, tall man. And then you measure popularity of short man, long man. Okay? So again, analysis same. You analyze variation X in variation in Y, and then compare how and derive how variation in X causes variation in Y. So this is analysis. So basic analysis is similar, whether it is inductive or deductive. Conclusion is the same. State what we have learned. Takeaway, implication, limitation. Reference same. Appendix, describe your case. Technical detail. Let me write down. Technical. Technical details. Okay. And then there are samples. Well, there are even samples. What is this sample? What is this? I didn't know there's a link to the sample. Let me see. Oh, it's Brizard. Oh, it is my former student at UH University, and they did this term paper. Very good, isn't it? Yeah, they wrote this term paper. Well, and they got, I think they got A+ with this term paper. I think. And then what is another version? Is this is Lehman Brothers. So this is proposal basically. When I teach students in UH Women's University, they have to submit their proposal first, like this way, and then they write. But still, they have a proposition, something like this. The proposal is slightly different from the format I told. But anyway, she did great analysis. So anyway, 이로써 proposal 버전. So anyway, yeah, there is even sample. Yeah. And then citation guideline. Please use APA format for your reference. See the following example like this way, and then yeah. Okay, there is a comic book. There's a comical explanation of the scientific method. Observe natural, the scientific method, observe natural phenomenon, formulate hypothesis, test hypothesis via rigorous experiment, modify hypothesis, keep doing that, and establish a theory based on repeated evaluation of results. So this is basically inductive method, right? And what is actually going on is make up theory based on what funding agency manager wants to be true. Okay, the money, what money wants. Okay, and design minimum experiment that will prove, show, suggest the theory is true. Publish a paper, rename the theory or hypothesis, and pretend you use the scientific method. Blah blah blah, and defend the theory, but all evidence is the contrary. Remember, this is comic. So, and there is another interesting PhD comics, writing your thesis outline. Yeah. Thesis outline, introduction, literature, methodology, conclusion. What stuff did you, yeah, this is the meat chapter. This is the key part. Yeah, anyway. Any question about your midterm exam? So in the midterm exam, I know it should be imperfect given the, because you didn't use enough data analysis, you are collecting the data. So I think you cannot write perfect paper. But anyway, you should keep in mind when you submit a paper, you should follow this format. If you didn't do your data analysis, maybe this chapter is blank. You can simply write down, I couldn't write down this section. I could not develop this section because I don't have data. Something like this. You write down your excuse. If you cannot answer some of the questions and fill the section appropriately, please write down your excuse. Yeah, any question?
I confused theory-driven and phenomenon-driven.
Yeah.
Could you explain those
With
with the examples?
the examples? So again, theory-driven is all human die. Socrates is human. Socrates died. That's the theory-driven. And the phenomenon-driven, swan 1 is white, swan 2 is white, swan 3 is white, therefore every swan is white. Something like this. So in your case, suppose you have data, and in the data, you analyze data first based on two central concepts, and if you find if one concept changes, the other changes, you want to generalize it. Okay. If a firm do more marketing, they make more money. You analyze, for example, in the phenomenon-driven analysis, suppose you have two data, Samsung and LG, and Samsung do small marketing, and LG does a lot of marketing, and Samsung do poorly, LG does great. Then you can say, well, more marketing, more performance, something like this. If you are doing theory-driven, then you can say, well, marketing is important for performance because marketing increases brand equity, and brand equity, people change people's perception, blah, blah, blah. Therefore, your hypothesis is the more marketing, the more money. And then you collect the two data, Samsung and LG. LG does more marketing than Samsung, and you find LG is better than Samsung. Then you can say, well, I proved my hypothesis. Done. Yeah. Any other? Yeah. 안 나오면 어쩔 수 없지 뭐. Then you cannot reject your null hypothesis. 그래도 괜찮아요. 어쩔 수 없지 뭐. 보통 그런 때는 근데 이제 그럴 때는 theory를 조금 바꾸지 사람들이. 뭐 여러 가지 방법이 있어요. 그러니까 그런 때 이런 만화가 나오는 게 다 그런 이유 때문이지. Modify theory to fit the data. 유의미하게 나올 때까지. 실제로 이렇게 많이 합니다. 많은 사람들이 theory driven 페이퍼를 쓰지만 상당히 대부분 거의 90%의 사람들은 데이터 분석부터 할 거예요. 그냥 재밌는 걸 찾은데 쓸 때 그냥 이런 식으로 쓰는 거지. 마치 theory가 먼저 있는 것처럼 쓰고 그 다음에 하이파서시스 하고 왜 데이터 분석했을 때 맞다 이런 식으로 말하는 사람들이 실제로. 어쩔 수 없이 애써서 페이퍼 다 써놓고 분석했는데 아무것도 안 나와. 그러면 앞으로 버릴 수는 없잖아. 그러니까 먼저 하고 이렇게 하는 게 세이프하기도 하죠. 네. 뭐 학계 현실. 네. 또
5월 1일 전에 제출하라고 하시는 거는 포맷이나 이런 양식 같은 거에 지금 따라오고 있는지를 평가하시고 보시기 위해서
그렇지. 포맷을 잘 따라가고 있는가, 그 다음에 얼마나 많이 그동안 열심히 했나. 그래서 그동안 시킨 거를 열심히 잘 했으면 뭐 별 채우는데 어려움 없을 거야. 상당 부분. 데이터 분석 이런 것만 빼고. 또 어쨌든 포맷이 80%, 내용이 20%니까 포맷에 신경을 많이 써야 돼. 네. 그리고 내가 장담하는데 포맷이 좋으면 내용도 좋을 거야. 그렇지? 이대로 내가 시킨 대로 포맷을 그대로 따라하면 내용이 안 좋아질 리가 있나. 솔직히. 그렇지?
그러면 지금 올려주신 샘플을 지금 봤는데 첫 번째
네.
샘플 같은 경우는 인더티브로 지금 쓰인 것 같고
그래요? 나 잊어버렸는데.
두 번째는 풀포지션이라서 조금 약간 그 인더티브, 디덕티브랑은 조금 약간 형태가 다른데 샘플을 혹시 한두 개 정도만 디덕티브도 하나 올려주세요.
그러지 말고 여러분들이 리트러처 리뷰한 페이퍼를 보면 그냥 학생들이 쓴 거 말고 실제로 있는 페이퍼를 보면 둘 중에 하나로 다 쓰여져 있거든요. 네, 그래서 그것들 보면 되죠. 네. 야, 또. Then this is enough for today and good luck to your exam and see you next Wednesday. Okay, thank you.